Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
What's up, Vegas? It is the Vegas Take. Shark. Did I say Shark and Shapiro? Maybe we do have a shark coming in studio today. Now, Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us on a Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday, isn't it? Do I get free tacos for lunch today? I don't know. We'll find out. That means I'll probably be on the stool all afternoon. But anyway, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. A lot to get to today. Some serious stuff, some fun stuff. We mix it up on this show. You know what we do here. Want to know what the latest is on sex gadgets at the CES convention? Well, Steve Gregory is a correspondent. He'll be joining us coming in studio. CES is in town. We'll talk a little bit about that. Another ridiculous article from Ed Graney from the Review Journal. I know that's a shocker, making the case that Brady could be a Raider. We'll talk about that coming up in hour number 3. Hour number 2, Stretch Sanders. A lot to get to with him. The minister himself will be joining us in studio. You know, I have been anti-Colin Kaepernick forever, since he was at UNR. You know, and, you know, this whole kneeling situation, I take the side of a lot of people on the right when it comes to Colin Kaepernick, including Lindsey Graham. Colin Kaepernick is a fool. He's a moron. He's an ignoramus. And he said some really ignorant things about this attack on General Salami over there in Iran. So I really want to get Stretch's opinions on, because I know Stretch is a Colin Kaepernick guy. I am not. So that might get heated coming up in hour number 2. Stretch will join us in studio. What a wacky and crazy story coming out of Vegas once again, folks. A 93-year-old man lives in an apartment complex. His place gets flooded. I guess there's some sort of flood in his apartment. He goes to the manager's office and shoots the manager in both of his legs. 93 years old. News anchor here at KDWN, John Schaefer, is going to fill us in on this wacky story coming up at the bottom of the hour. And yes, it is extremely wacky. Crazy, a crazy Looney Tune old man deciding to shoot. Listen, we've all been frustrated with, if we've lived and resided in certain apartment complexes and so on and so forth. We've all been frustrated, right? Maybe things don't get done as soon as they can. But shooting somebody in the leg, both of his legs, and there's video of it too. It's unbelievable. It's making national news. It's absolutely crazy. So we're going to get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about continuing when it comes to this situation in Iran. Now they're saying that there are 13 revenge scenarios that they're considering over the death of General Soleimani, as I like to call him, General Salami, because that's what his body looks like right now. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I guess the biggest problem that I have with Republicans when it comes to this stuff is that Republicans are saying, all Democrats, they're defending Salami. They're defending a terrorist. It couldn't be further from the truth. I haven't heard one Democrat, not one Democrat running for president, not one Democrat in office that actually is defending this general. Not one Democrat is defending him. We all know he was a horrible guy, a terrorist who killed innocent Americans. What Democrats are saying is, wait a second, did Donald Trump go through the right channels? Was this legal? Why didn't he talk to Congress? We want to know what happened. And I think those are very fair questions to ask. Joining us with us on the line right now, she is a contributor both to the BBC and Playboy Magazine, reader articles at Cheryl. She does a fantastic job and a good friend of the show. That would be Amee Vanderpool. Amee, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. I hope you had a good New Year's. Did you do anything fun?
I did. Well, yeah, I drank a lot over the whole holiday. I rested, I ate, I drank, I imbibed, and I had a great time.
Well, it sounds like I should have been hanging out with you. It sounds like you had a better time than I did. But
you're always welcome.
I appreciate that. Speaking of drinking, it seems like Tucker is drunk every night on his show. I wanted to play a little bit of audio for you that I know you've heard before. Not every day, not every day. Yeah, not every day that your name gets mentioned on the idiot, Tucker Carlson show. I want to play a little bit of this audio, and then I want you to kind of describe to us a little bit what he was talking about. So this is Tucker Carlson mentioning Amee on his show on Fox News. Here it is.
Did you hear that? Merry Christmas. According to Blue Checkmark Twitter, Gorsuch may as well have said Heil Hitler. Amee Vanderpool, apparently a real person, tweeted this. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch just appeared on Fox and Friends this morning, making a point to parrot the Merry Christmas talking point of the GOP. This is real, keep in mind. If he's willing to go on Fox and throw a shout out to Republican narratives, what else is he willing to do? Look, these people.
All right, so Amee, put this in context for us, first of all. What is he talking about?
I mean, that's a damn well-written tweet, don't you think?
I enjoyed it, actually. Apparently, you're a real person, though. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I am, apparently. Okay, here's what happened. I was so offended by that clip because the reality is, Fox, and I watch a lot of stuff Fox is always sending out just to see what they're doing. And they had been using this Merry Christmas narrative all that week, and they had been slamming it. And their viewers know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what I was referring to. And so what really bothered me was the fact that a sitting Supreme Court justice who shouldn't have his seat went on to Fox News and sort of fed into that whole stuff with this underlying nod to them. And that's what I was trying to get at, So it was just kind of a throwaway comment. I didn't think anything about it. I went to sleep early with a cold. I was on NyQuil, I was loaded. And I woke up the next morning to all these voicemails and everybody losing it over the fact that Tucker Carlson had picked it up. And what's interesting is, I don't have a blue check next to my name. I'm not technically verified on Twitter, much to my consternation. So he altered the actual image, and he superimposed a blue check on it because he so badly wanted to include my tweet in his segment, and he needed to say blue check mark Twitter to do it somehow. It made the whole shtick work.
Yeah.
And so he actually doctored the image
and
superimposed that.
Yeah.
So I get a message from somebody from Newsweek. They pick up the story. They want a quote from me. I'm like, oh yes, I will give you a quote. Of course, he doesn't respond. He doesn't give a quote.
No, he's a coward.
Picks it up. No, a total coward. But the point is, he mentions my name on Fox News, so he gets my message out to a lot of people who would never listen or read me. Right? They're looking into who I am because let me tell you, I experienced the Tucker Carlson troll thing on Twitter, and that is real. I mean, I don't know who these people are, but they come after you big time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just swatting away the flies, no biggie. But I was getting a lot of traction in a demographic I wouldn't normally get. And I had, Newsweek contacting me. I had a complete article that was devoted to my story and my name that was promoting Shapiro. And it was a Merry Christmas to Amee Vanderpool. I mean, it was like, woo-woo! I was so excited.
Well, first of all, you obviously struck a chord with that tweet, whether it was him or one of his producers that found it. Obviously, they found it important enough to talk about it, number one. Number two, Tucker Carlson is a coward. This is the same guy also who says the idea of white supremacy is a hoax, but all of his trolls, I'm sure, don't have a problem with that. There's just a lot of morons out there with nothing better to do.
Well, you know what's interesting about Tucker, too, is that he was one of the first with Geraldo last week who was kind of speaking out against this Iran thing and the war, and he was getting nervous. And all that tells me is that he does have a functioning brain, and he does understand, discernible threats, and when it gets truly scary and when it goes too far, which means all of his other act is he's just a fraud.
That's what it is.
Fraud.
Listen, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you something. There are others out there on that network that are complete frauds. I'm not going to name them all because I could get in trouble, but I'm going to say Laura Ingraham, who used to do a show here. I call her the evil racist witch who hides behind her cross and her religion. She's a complete fraud. I do believe others on that network say things that I do not believe. I also believe Tucker Carlson is one of them. I believe they talk to their base, so to speak, which is sad. But
they're playing a role.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't want to spend any more than 5 minutes on Tucker because I think he's a racist white supremacist himself. But anyway, we'll move on to bigger and better things. But I think that's good that you struck a chord with those guys, and we're proud of you for that. I want to talk, obviously, about this attack in Iran. Let's start with Nikki Haley, who I believe has sold her soul to the devil, if you want to talk about religion. So she said... I don't even want to say what she said. Let's just play this audio, and then I want to show you why Nikki Haley is such a hypocrite. Here is Nikki Haley on the Sean Hannity show saying Democrats are mourning the Soleimani death. Here it is.
You don't see anyone standing up for Iran. You're not hearing any of the Gulf members. You're not hearing China. You're not hearing Russia. The only ones that are mourning the loss of Soleimani are our Democrat leadership and our Democrat presidential candidates. No one else in the world, because they knew that this man had evil veins. They knew what he was capable of, and they saw the destruction and the lives lost based from his hands.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is what this same woman said just a few years ago. She said, real leadership is about persuasion. It's about movement. It's about bringing people around to your point of view, not by shouting them down, but by showing them how it is in their best interest to see things the way you do. Okay, she also said, during anxious times, it can be tempting to follow the siren call of the angriest voices. Civility and accomplishment go hand in hand. Leadership is persuasion, and leadership is impossible if we're yelling at each other. I mean, is she reading Donald Trump's tweets? You want to talk about the biggest hypocrite? Yeah, these are her quotes.
Did she say that during Obama, when Obama was president?
Yes, she did. Yes.
Yeah, of course she did.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and that sort of fleshes out the whole point here. Nikki Haley is just an opportunist. She's looking for another political future run that's higher up from what she had, and she's looking to fill that vacuum that Trump is kind of creating in the Republican Party because nobody knows where it's going to go. So she wants to be this, ally to Trump, but she wants to the inevitable downfall of Trump is going to happen. It's going to happen. He's not sustainable. He's going to crash. It's going to burn. It's going to bottom out, and there's going to be a huge vacuum left in this party, and nobody's going to know what to do with it. And she's jockeying for position. And so what she does is she runs around and fills the talking points with all of the holes, the voids of where she can go in here and there and fit, so that when it all happens and when he goes down in flames, she can still say she was loyal, but that she spoke out on critical issues that sets her apart.
Amy, she left the administration early. I thought she did that because she wanted to try to save face and some credibility. Hasn't she lost all of it now?
Well, sure. Anybody who continues to work for Trump in these circumstances loses all credibility. She has no credibility. And the first quote that you were playing where she says that no one's speaking out, Elizabeth Warren is on The View right now as we speak, calling him a terrorist and saying that he wasn't a good guy.
Of course.
But that's not the discussion. It's about how it's done, and it's about how he's handled, and it's about what makes us safer and what makes things more precarious in the United States.
Yeah.
So nothing she's saying is actually true.
I opened up the show talking about this too, Amy, and that many of the Republicans out there, she's not the only one. There are many Republicans out there, particularly those on Fox News and Fox and Friends, that are saying that Democrats are mourning the loss of this terrorist. I can't
I'm not mourning the loss.
Yeah, neither am I. I can't think
it's not about the loss.
Right. Nope. I can't think of one prominent Democrat that has said nice things about this guy. What Democrats are saying is very similar to what I am saying, and that is this, that did he go through the proper channels? Where is the evidence and proof that this was an imminent threat to the United States? We need to know. The parents of those troops that are being sent overseas, they deserve to know. We don't need to get every single specific, but we need a little bit more than Pompeo said, which is basically nothing. That is what Democrats are saying, and it's very interesting, isn't it, Amy? Isn't it interesting that the president will not listen to the CIA and take the word of Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin until it's, all of a sudden now, well, oh, listen, we had the intelligence. Isn't that interesting, Amy?
It's more frightening than anything else because nobody at the Pentagon knows who to take their instructions from, really, or what to say. I mean, all of this was based on the fact that they presented Trump with some options that they never thought he would take. And then, of course, he did. So that's how frightening that is. But here's the reality. The reality is that Trump did something that was not based in logic, that makes us all more dangerous, and he did it to deflect attention away from the impeachment trial. That was the only reason. There are terrorists all over the world right now who are dangerous, who should probably be assassinated, that we don't kill. I'll give you an example. Vladimir Putin is one.
Yep, there you go.
He is a terrorist. Yep. He's a threat to America. He's dangerous. We're not going to kill him because we don't do that.
Right.
So it's asinine, and to make an argument that it was done for any other reason other than to deflect the trouble he's in right now politically with Congress is false.
I agree. And, I go back to the weapons of mass destruction in the Iraq War. I think this is probably worse. Maybe that was just faulty intelligence. I think Trump is just impulsive, and I really believe that. And when you read some of the quotes he said about Obama wanting to start a war with Iran just to get reelected, I mean, again, his words are right back in his face. I want to play
because he knows he knows how it all works. He knows how the machine works, and he knows how to run the news cycle, and that's all there was.
Yeah. I want to play you some audio from a disgraced televangelist named Jim Baker. I mean, this is unbelievable audio. There are whack jobs out there that are echoing the same thing that Jim Baker said. The only difference is he said it on TV. Have a listen to this.
You know what? Trump is a test whether you're even saved. Only saved people can love Trump. No, you got to be really saved. You got to forgive. You got to be able to forgive. You forgive when you're saved.
Only saved people can love Trump. You know,
I'll tell you what, that woman in the front row near the mic doing the Jesus moan
Yeah.
scares me more than any of it. You know what I'm saying? Because people are buying this. People are buying what he's saying. I mean, he's an adulterer, just like Trump, so they get along great in that respect. He's
Yeah.
a convicted felon. I mean, when Tammy Faye Baker leaves you, man, you know, you need to reassess your life choices. But there he is. How many churches has he lost? How many TV shows has he lost because of his fraudulent tendencies?
Yeah.
And now he's still on the air, and somebody's listening to him and doing the hallelujah response. That's what concerns me is
Nuts.
who's listening to this.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say this. You might agree with me on this one. I think some of the most religious people, not all of them, obviously, but some of the most religious people on the planet, particularly those on the extreme right, are the same types of people that commit adultery, that commit crimes, that cheat on their wives. Don't even get me started with the priests. Yeah.
Yes, we're all human, and the fact that you try to hold yourself above someone in judgment is the beginning to the end. And that, I mean, my grandfather was a Methodist minister, and my grandmother was born again, and they could not have been more. He was a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
He was very liberal. She was very conservative because she lived a life she thought she was supposed to live, and it was a total experiment in like a dichotomy, but it worked. So, I mean, I've seen both sides of it. I've seen a truly Christ-like man go out and try to teach in that image, and I've also seen people bastardize the concept of what Jesus' word was and all of that. So it's just we couldn't be getting farther away from the teachings of, you know, love one another, be kind to each other, just don't be a jerk.
Yeah, and you know what?
Don't be a jerk.
You're
I
right.
say that every day.
Yeah,
just don't be a jerk.
Yeah, well, something that our president does on a daily basis. You know, I'm staring at a cardboard cutout of Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, and we do that to mock him, not because we look up to him, because I think he's a fraud. This is a guy who talks about Jesus all the time because he used to be a drug addict, and that's fine. He can talk about whatever he wants to talk about, but he's a guy that gets on the stage at the Republican National Convention and says, God brought us Donald Trump. This guy is a complete moron. He is a fraud and another idiot that hides behind his religion, just like Laura Ingraham. And I just go on a tangent here. I'm so sick of some of these people, but I'll leave it be. On a happy note, Amy, I do want to share some news with you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I've told you that I did not vote for Hillary Clinton a few years ago. I gave you the reasons why I didn't, but I'm going to tell you something. I grew up watching Howard Stern because I think he's one of the best interviewers in the world. And Hillary, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that 90-minute interview that he did with her, but I feel like, and I'm the middle of the road kind of guy. I voted left and right. I thought it was the first time I really got a chance to get to know Hillary Clinton, not as the politician, but as the person. I really thought she did a fantastic job in that interview. And I said to myself, you know what? I wish she went on his show 2 years ago. I understand that there's a lot of women out there that think that Howard Stern is disgusting, that, you know, he says a lot of obnoxious things. But one thing I always say about the guy is he's great at interviewing people. And I'm going to tell you right now, if Hillary did decide to run in 2020, I would 100% vote for her for that interview and that interview alone.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the fact that you needed to see her through, you know, the Stern lens is a little concerning to me in order to really grasp, you know, her brilliance, because to me it's so apparently glaringly obvious, especially when you compare it to Trump. But
well, that's obvious.
I guess I'm glad that you came to the. I'm glad you're finally drinking the water. I'm glad you see it now and you get it. I guess I'm appreciative of that. But we just got to speed up your progression.
Well, let me explain.
You know, Brian.
Let me explain a little bit. I always thought Hillary Clinton was intelligent. That was never, you know, a question for me. I always thought she was a more intelligent and accomplished person than Donald Trump. That was also never, you know, a question for me. The things about Hillary that I guess you could say I disliked is I thought she was always a little bit robotic. I didn't like that she didn't do interviews like that. And I'm telling you, if it's Joe Biden or anybody, I do believe they need to do shows like that, because those types of shows, you have a lot of middle ground people like myself that are listening. And I think, just like I say, it's important for Democrats to go on Fox News, even though there's plenty of hosts on there we both dislike. I also think it's important, you know, to get on the other side and speak to a different group of people.
Sure.
And whoever is the Democrat that is running for president against Donald Trump needs to do the Howard Stern show. You need to do the Opie and Anthony show. You need to go on Fox News.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You heard the Access Hollywood tapes with Trump. You heard the words come out of his mouth about how he assaults women.
I did, yes.
It was more important to you that our president not be robotic, then did they not be a sexual predator?
No, because if it was more important, then I would have voted for Donald Trump, and I would not vote for Donald Trump. So I did not vote for him.
You didn't vote.
I didn't vote because I guess I vote differently than some others.
My argument with that, though, with not voting, is that you did, in fact, vote for Donald Trump by not voting because things were at stake. So you can't just say, well, I didn't vote, so I didn't make a choice.
Well,
you did make a choice. You made a choice.
I did make a choice. You're right. Hillary did win here where we are.
It offended you more that she was more robotic than the fact that he said he grabbed what he grabbed.
I wouldn't say it offended me more. I'm just one of those people that does not like to vote for the lesser of two evils. But I'm beginning to think that maybe that wasn't a good idea. And when I saw that interview, I said to myself that, I knew she was a smart lady, but I enjoyed the fact that I got to see the human side of her. And I just think on the campaign trail, we never really, at least me personally, I'm just speaking to you from a middle of the ground guy, I never saw that. Obviously, like I said, looking back on it, I probably would have voted for Hillary Clinton.
Brian, if I ever have the chance to Freaky Friday with somebody and switch bodies, I'm going to do it with you because you need to have the experience of living as a woman for even a day. You need to have that. You really do. Because I think you're open to it. I think you're open to the experience and what really happens, but you need to be pushed into the fire on that one. You really do.
Well, so we only have a few more minutes left here. I didn't like the way she handled, and this is personal, I didn't like the way she handled the situation with her husband, with all those women that came forward. And I would think that somebody like yourself, a feminist, when women come forward and say, well, Bill did this or that to me, she put them down and she kind of disgraced them publicly. I didn't. I got to be honest with you, Amy.
I know, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, as a woman who has been cheated on, and I'm sure as a man, everyone's
absolutely,
been
it's
cheated on in
horrible.
your life after you live to a certain point, right?
Of course.
Imagine then being in the most public position possible, having your own political aspirations, having everything thrown at you, and suddenly that's being put on you. My argument is no one could have handled that well, and she's human on top of that. I mean, I would have been burning things on the White House lawn, okay? I am a very reasonable, measured person, but when love's involved and you break my heart, I set stuff on fire.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. She didn't do it. She didn't embarrass herself. She stood up for herself, but she had human moments. Nothing she could have done would have been right. It would have pissed off half of the people. I still know women that think, well, how could she stay with him? Well, maybe she loves him. Who knows? My point is, as a feminist, I argue choice. It's not for me to decide what she does with her life as long as she's not breaking the law or hurting somebody. I get the same decisions for myself, and God bless, and I'm not going to judge them because I'm not in her shoes. I've never been in a marriage that long that I had to stay in because of public pressure, and I loved the guy.
No, and I understand that.
I don't know.
And I understand where you're coming from. And like I said, I really enjoyed the interview she did on Howard. And like I said, if she ran in 2020, I would absolutely vote for her because I have a lot more respect for her, believe it or not, now than I did a few months ago.
Well, that boat has sailed, Brian, and that dream is over.
Well,
that's done.
Well, you know what?
That's done because you didn't vote. It's all because you didn't vote.
Oh, you're making me feel
all over, Brian.
You're making me feel really guilty now. But anyway, we're going to have to wait and see who runs against Donald Trump. And I look forward to your next. I look forward to your next tweet that is said on the air live. By Tucker Carlson. Quickly, we only have a minute, Amy. Man, this segment goes by so fast. I want to give you a moment to tell people where they can find you and your articles and all that stuff. Give us the good stuff.
Sure. Okay, well, you're going to want to check out what I write over at Shiro at shiro.substack.com. That's a newsletter I write where I publish, edit, and create all of my own original content. So you want to head over there. I have a great article up today saying, how the new Senate trial for Trump's impeachment is going to be better than the next Marvel movie. So you want to read that. It's a really great read.
Awesome.
And then come on over to Twitter and visit me at Girls Really Rule is my handle, Amee Vanderpool, and say hi.
Amy, I always love it when you take some time to join us. Good to hear from you. Hopefully we can catch up with you next week. Have a great weekend. We appreciate you coming on.
Sure.
All right.
Always
take care.
Fun. Take care, Brian.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Amy. Okay, there you go. Amee Vanderpool from the BBC, also a contributor to Playboy Magazine. Yes, I do read the articles. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, news anchor John Schaefer will be joining us with a crazy story coming up right after this.